Now check this out. I had called. Oh, it's been like for the last 6 months. I've been talking to Jim Jordan's office, Congressman Jim Jordan's office, and I told him to contact the FBI regarding this YouTuber, Bad Empanada, whatever his name is. And it looks like it went down. Check this out. This is my handiwork. Listen to this fuck.
October 7th, 2023, some really weird stuff started happening to me. Within just a few weeks of the Al-Aqsa flood operation by the Palestinian resistance, I started having people who I have communicated with in the past, both acquaintances and friends, telling me that when they were re-entering the USA or when they were traveling there, they were getting stopped and questioned about me by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
My
and
nigga.
they were asking them about like me and my links to terrorist organizations and stuff like that.
He's a terrorist.
And many of these people have no public links to me whatsoever, no links that, anyone without like the investigative power of law enforcement or a government should be able to know. So it was pretty clear that they were going quite far in this investigation into me. Now, at first I was quite alarmed, and then I kind of thought, okay, what can they
Let me make a point real quickly about this dude, okay? If you listen to his bullshit, it sounds like one stream of thought, right? But in reality, he just edits it that way.
Just cut the shit. And, I knew that they were just doing their job, but pretty quickly in all of these cases, these officials would realize that the USA had just put a YouTuber on the no-fly list and they had no reason for alarm and they would just let me go. However, in some cases, when I go to countries that are more closely aligned with the US, they were asking me very, very extensive questions that can only be described as intelligence gathering. Super extensive stuff, 30 straight minutes of personal details. Do you know this person? Do you know that person? Have you ever lived at this address? Blah, blah, blah. Like the sort of thing that it seemed pretty obvious to me that they were getting on behalf of the United States. I'm not going to name the countries here because these are all countries that I want to be able to go back to. And in all of these cases, the officials in question
I got him banned from America.
Okay, everything's fine now. There's no problem. You can come back whenever you want. And I just don't want to compromise that. So again, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to piss anyone off here. But nonetheless, this all made it clear to me that the American investigation into me was serious and extensive. It was not just a few people who I know being questioned. They were literally sharing intel with the governments of other countries. Now, I consulted like American legal counsel on this, and they basically told me, look, we don't know what's happening here. We can't really know yet. Just don't enter the USA and you'll be fine. So I just didn't enter the USA. And I was mostly fine. I would still get harassed every now and again in airports, but it just became like a part of the routine. It wasn't that big of a deal. However, in May last year, I received an email that shed quite a bit of light into what had been happening. It read, Google received and responded to a legal process issued by the Federal Bureau of Investigation compelling the release of information related to your Google account. A court order previously prohibited Google from notifying you of the legal process. We are now permitted to disclose the receipt of the legal process to you. They then gave me a reference number for this investigation against me, but nothing more. So, that was pretty interesting and also enlightening as to what had previously been happening to me and people who know me. Clearly, there had been a more formal, serious investigation into me than what I had known about.
Oh, yeah.
So I consulted some legal help. I talked to Palestine Legal. Shout out to them. They got me into contact with some other people who had been subpoenaed in relation to pro-Palestine speech in much the same way. They had received an email from Google just like this. And they told me if you respond to the email and request a copy of the subpoena, Google will send it to you. Because apparently Google doesn't like this stuff and they do try to help you out a tiny little bit by at least informing you that it happened and sending you the subpoena when I don't think they actually have to do that. So I sent them an email asking for the copy of the subpoena, and they got back to me actually very quickly, and they confirmed firstly that they had complied with this subpoena, so they had given up the info related to my Google account, and they attached a copy of the subpoena, which was a grand jury subpoena. Pretty serious sounding, right? Now, I thought that if this is a grand jury subpoena, that's not just an FBI investigation. What the hell is that? That sounds like a trial. But then I looked into it and I found out that apparently in the US, they convene juries for investigations, not just for judging trials. So it probably wasn't an actual trial and was rather just an investigation. You know, I think it would have been weird if they had had an entire trial against me.
No, a grand jury's for an investigation, dumb
without
fuck.
me knowing about it. So there's that at least. You know, I'm probably not literally on trial in the United States.
This dumb thing thinks the grand jury convenes. He's an idiot.
And this subpoena had been served to them on December 14th, 2023.
It's an investigation.
So this was a few months after October 7th, under the Biden admin, and Google had been prevented from informing me of the fact that this had happened by a court order that lasted around a year and a half. So that's pretty serious. And weirdly, a lot of this subpoena is redacted. Like the name of the magistrate judge, for example, is redacted. The name of the investigating officers are redacted. Seems pretty serious.
It is.
And the subpoena was basically for a bunch of my information that is tied to the Google account that my YouTube channel is on. Names, addresses, connection records, records of session times and durations and the temporarily assigned network addresses, length of service, telephone or instrument numbers, means and source of payment for such service and billing records over the course of around a 4-year period. So that's quite extensive.
Ooh.
Now, the other people who I talked to about this told me that the subpoenas that they had gotten were much less extensive than this. So the one they did against me was trying to get a lot more info on me than was usually normal.
Sweat it out, my nigga.
So, you know, that's kind of interesting. I'm glad that I'm such a threat to them, that they went to this sort of length to try and get dirt on me, whatever the fuck this was about.
You're
so I then got
fucked.
to work, getting into contact with lawyers and such and other people in similar situations, see if they could help me out. And the message that I was getting was the only thing that you can really do here is to file a Freedom of Information Act request. So I did so. And basically, they ended up giving me shit fuck all. I got basically totally stonewalled. Like, this case is under seal, under wraps. You cannot find it anywhere public.
You're a terrorist.
And trying to do a Freedom of Information Act request for it got me absolutely nowhere. So it's clear that whatever happened here, they didn't want me to know anything about the details. However, it's still evident from the details that I can glean from the interrogations that I've had with border officials in other countries, from the questions that were asked to the people who know me in the US, and from the timing of all of this. You know, the timing of the subpoena being just a few months after October 7th, and the fact that they were requesting info specifically related to the account tied to my YouTube channel. It's pretty damn obvious that it is due to pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel speech in the wake of the Al-Aqsa flood operation. I would guess that they decided that I had, like, direct ties to some Palestinian terrorist group or something, and they were like, investigating that, and they decided that it was serious enough to convene a federal grand jury over it and investigate it further, which is absolutely fucking crazy and just goes to show you how utterly rabid the US government is at their attempts to stifle anti-Israel speech. They're literally going after a YouTuber who lives on the other side of the world with no meaningful connection to the USA whatsoever. And again, this was also under Biden, so they were doing this shit still back then. Don't think it's just a Trump thing.
They say higher education is outdated.
Let me make a point here.
But at Grand Canyon University, we shall.
Honestly, I'm honored that they did this.
He's honored.
Honored. The fact that they wasted probably at least hundreds of thousands of dollars and who knows how many work hours of, like, FBI investigators and whoever else would have been involved in a process like this, looking into a foreign YouTuber just because he's too anti-Israel, that makes me very, very happy. And the fact that I am inconvenient enough for them, that they went to all of this effort to, like, investigate me and all this shit because I upload videos to YouTube where I talk about how Israel sucks. What an honor. What a fantastic honor. The fact that people in the American government, in the FBI, in the American court system are worried about bad empanada YouTube videos is the best compliment to bad empanada YouTube videos that I could ever get. So my message to the American federal government and the FBI is, thank you. You shouldn't have. Now, I waited until I had basically exhausted every means that I had to figure out what the hell this was about to actually talk about it. It's been more than a year now, and I can pretty safely say I am not going to be finding out any more information than that which I already have regarding this now. So I'm finally getting this video on this out. I also wanted to send a message to you people out there to whom this same thing might have happened, that you aren't alone. It has happened to at least dozens of other people that I know of. People in other countries, you know, Americans who like attended protests against Israel, stuff like that. They've been getting subpoenas from the FBI against their Google accounts. I don't know if they've been federal grand jury subpoenas like mine, but they've at least been FBI subpoenas. So if something like this has happened to you, you know, leave a comment, get in contact with me or others. Maybe we can help you out. I know that.
What he's failing to say is if he was in Dubai, the UAE, and said this shit, he'd be in fucking prison for a year or two. Fuck his ass.